welcome back to the Stitchcraft Queen podcast. My name is Mary, and I am the Stitchcraft Queen. I don't remember what episode it is. We're getting close to 30, though. It's probably like 29 episode, I think. I don't know. Luckily, you guys know because that's in the title. Anyways, today is May 28th of 2026. And here is our monthly WIP update. I would like to do these weekly or every other week, but I am a mom of a now 7-month-old baby, and we also this week just brought our puppy home, so we have a 6-month-old puppy as well that we have to take care of. So realistically, not the case to do this every single week, but hopefully we'll get back to it in like a year or so. We'll see. But yeah, anyways, to our knitting, I have 2 finished objects. We can go over those now. Also, sorry if there is noise. Of course, right when I started recording, they started doing landscaping right outside of our window in our community. So you might hear some, the weed eaters and the lawnmowers going by, but they're making our tiny little front yard look pretty. Also, I'm in a different location than usual. I'm not in my daughter's room. I'm on our couch in our living room. That's because we do have our puppy. She is 6 months old, so she's grown out of like most of those like weird puppy things, but we still have her in like a contained area in a little puppy pen. So we're just keeping an eye on her, but she's doing really good and adjusting super well. So that's why we're in a different location than the baby's room, because puppy isn't allowed in the baby room until she's potty trained. Anyway, so finished objects. Let's get on to those. So this is, I think I called it my May Day tee. It's just the May tee is what it's called. And I made a lot of changes to this pattern. It's originally written in broken rib. I did mine in a full rib. I am making Yuffie Kisagari, I think is her name. It's been so long since I played Final Fantasy VII. One of my favorite characters from that show, or not show. Sorry, last night was a rough sleep night, so you'll have to bear with me. From the video game, Final Fantasy VII, Yuffie is one of my favorite characters. And she has on in the new game, well, she's always had like a green sweater, but they made it in the new game like a green knit sweater, and it has a little, it's like a little turtleneck, it's tank top, and then it's cropped as well, and I think it's so cute, and so I'm trying to figure that out and knit it myself. So this was the first kind of version of that. Like I even have the front marked. How nice of me. But yeah, so last time I was on the back doing the back increases. And this is not blocked, by the way, so the bottom looks funny. I have things about the bottom. And my bind off method. But anyway, so I love this pattern. It was great. Fairly well written. There was like one spot where I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is what I'm supposed to do, but not 100%. Other than that, very, very well written pattern. Sorry, I'm just like, I think I wove in all my ends, except it looks like one. Yeah, all of them except one. I will go back and weave that one in once I'm done. But anyways, great pattern, well written. There was only one spot where I was like, I'm pretty sure this is what I'm supposed to do, and I'm an advanced enough knitter that I'm pretty sure that is what I'm supposed to do and what the pattern is telling me. But anyway, so knit this in a rib. It looks really small. It stretches out pretty good. Fits pretty well. My only thing is I do need this yoke to be probably 1 inch further on both sides to get the look I'm going for. So I think I will be doing that in the next version of this. I'm going to knit at least one more and make sure that it's what I want, and then I'll knit it with my really nice green yarn that I have. I really do like this, so it's something that I will probably wear quite a bit during the summer, especially when it gets really hot out. Yeah, and the other thing that I changed is, so these armholes, when I tried this on, they went all the way like another 2 inches down when I was finished. Yeah, all the way to here is where the armholes originally go. I sewed up because it was way too big and it was coming in too much to where it was like showing the bra that I tried it on with off way too much. Even my husband, I took a photo and sent it to him, and he's like, yeah, that's a little too revealing. So we sewed it up, and it did a lot better. It now covers everything, at least. The armholes are still pretty big, but they're at least like a better size. I'll probably do quite a bit of adjusting there and then make the armholes smaller and then just do a bigger like body section essentially to make it the same length. I think the length is good. It hits like right around where my belly button is, and I do have some high-rise shorts and jeans that I can wear this with that will like cover everything, and leggings as well. So if I want more coverage on those days, that's a good length where I can get that coverage. Or if like I'm wearing this as a swimsuit cover up one day, I can show off a little more skin. Just depends. But I was right here when we left off. I had started the back. I finished the back armholes, turned around, and then you do the front. Right here is my red, I'll go up front, my red stitch marker right there. Started there, went all the way down, and then you joined in the round. There's only like, I think I only did, yeah, because right here is where I started my sew edge. So there's only like 2 inches of actual body knitting that I was able to do. And then this is all the yarn I have left from 2 skeins. I joined it together into one ball because it's the same color. It's about 9 grams, so I could have technically done like another round or 2, but I was worried and wanted to make sure I had enough for the bind off. For the bind off, I did Jenny's stretchy bind off, which is essentially you knit and purl in pattern and then like you knit 2 together and slip it. It was a whole thing. Slip a stitch over, you're essentially decreasing 2 stitches every round. I need to see when I block this, but I don't like how it ruffles out. It said in, like, it might have been a tension thing, and maybe I need to go down a needle size when I'm binding this off next time, but it said in the instructions I was using that it wasn't supposed to, like, flare out like this, or at least as much, but it is an extremely stretchy bind off. So here's, like, the normal size for the ribbing, and then you stretch it, and it goes, like, it's huge. So it's nice when you're putting it on. I don't have to worry about like overstretching anything or not. But yeah, the next one I'm going to try probably a different bind off. I'm going to see how this blocks out though, because maybe it will like soften or whatever. I might too on my next one try the same bind off, just go down a needle size or 2 and see if that were to help. But yeah, so that is my May top. All of the changes I made are in my Ravelry project page. Oh, the other thing too is they have you do, because you're doing a broken rib all the way down the arms, you're doing like kind of a slipped pattern on the end. You like knit 3 in pattern and then you do the increase and slip a stitch type thing. I just slipped the end stitch every other row to make a nicer, neater edge on the armhole, and then I would do, I think it was 2 stitches like it did in the pattern, and then do the increase. So it was kind of a similar idea, but not, 100% true to form. And then when I do my Eufy top, I will just make the collar longer. The mock neck goes up to about right there. I probably would need, and hers is a rolled one, so it will be a pretty hefty size collar, but I do love this top and I can't wait to block it and wear it. So that is finished project number 1. And I love it because now that's 2 skeins that I've had caked up for a while that are out of my stash. So thank goodness. Okay, and then on to project number 2. It looks really funny like this. This is my, and again, this is not blocked. And I have some things to say about this and some changes that I'm going to make the next time I make it. This is my, and now I am totally blanking. Manhattan hat. There we go. Manhattan hat. I believe it's Tori Yu is the name of the creator. And I do have just a couple ends I need to just cut, actually. I've woven them in. I just didn't cut them. I haven't even tried this on. We should try it on. Hold on. Make sure it fits. Yep, there we go. It does fit. You have the nice little, I don't know what they call it. I need to cut my bangs. Holy cow. But there's the Manhattan hat. Hold on, let me get my hair back to normal. I needed to try it on because I have another one in the same size. I probably honestly should go up a size. It is a little snug. I know that it probably will stretch a little bit with wear and blocking though. Okay, so I loved this project. It was nice, easy rib. I think I would have enjoyed it more if I hadn't previously knitted my, all ribbed t-shirt, because it was a nice break. I needed a break from stockinette still, and so that's why we did this one instead of the Musselburgh hat. One thing though is you can probably see pretty badly, and it's only on one side of the decreases on the crown. It laddered really bad, and I tried so hard to like fix my tension and everything, and like no matter what I did, what tricks I used, it still laddered. I thought about ripping back, but I was like, nah, sometimes it blocks out a little bit, so we'll try to get it to block out. And if not, honestly, it doesn't bother me like that terribly on this hat. And I'm probably going to be knitting another one in this color anyways, for a gift. And so, we'll kind of see what we're doing there. But, yeah, so I could possibly rip back if I wanted to, but I don't think I will. Very easy pattern. You literally knit 12.5 inches in rib. You cast on, you can do like a fancy tubular. Hey, don't bite that. That's going to hurt you. Rue, stop. Thank you. She was biting the wire. That's not okay. We don't want that. But anyways, you cast on and then you knit in ribbing for 12.5 inches, and then you do the decreases, and then you're done. And then you also Kitchener stitch, which that was probably pretty obvious because it's like a toe for a sock. I even knew that without reading the pattern. I'm like, we're probably going to Kitchener stitch this closed. So yeah, fairly easy. I really liked it. I will be making more. I actually have one of my other objects is another one of these. So yes, that is my other finished object. Like I said, I still have like 1.5 skeins of this, and this took, I weighed it, it took 94, 93, I think, ounces total. So, and that was still with the ends on it and everything. So we definitely have enough to make another one and then have, a good bit of yarn still left, which is kind of crazy. So I'll probably be making another one of these. I think she has this in a worsted weight, and so I might actually, what I might try to do is try the worsted weight pattern when I do the decreases for the top, because you can see the decreases were fine, and then right here is where I swapped to DPNs. And how I did this was I had these stitches, the ones that you don't decrease, on their separate DPN, and I had the ones that I was decreasing on their separate DPN. So I had the 4 sides, and then I was only decreasing on 2 of them. And this side right here, you were purling first, and then the other ones you were knitting onto first. So I think that's why it laddered, was because I was purling, and no matter how tightly I pulled the yarn or what I did, it always laddered, and I don't know why. It did get a little less so at the top when I really started like yanking that yarn tight, but I am hoping that I can get it to not maybe be as obvious during blocking. So that's something I will be working on. But overall, I really like this hat. I don't think anyone's gonna super notice, and it doesn't bug me all that much, but it is something I just want to hopefully work on a little more on the next trial of this pattern. Sorry, now I do have one thing that's bugging me. Where is, it should be right here. Huh, oh, well, I'll figure that out later. There's one stitch that's really bugging me, but that one I should be able to fix pretty easily. So anyways, that is my first Manhattan hat. We will be making more of them, like I said. I love this yarn so much, but it does turn my fingers, even just touching this, it's turning them blue, because this is a very, very vivid yarn. I love it. It's not coming through all the way, but it's a very pretty, emerald green almost. It's a lot brighter than what is showing up on the screen. But yeah, this is a Ruby and Roses yarn. It'll be in my project page. I need to go update that. And then this one was, I think I still have the tag. Here it is. This one was from the Yarn Bliss box, from, what is it? Speckled Finch Studios. And this one was Fiber Friends. Very cute. It was just a very neutral speckly color. So those are those yarns. Okay, so those are my finished projects. Let's move on to my whips. We can start with my other Manhattan hat, which I actually made pretty good progress on. This one I kept down here, actually, and I would just work on it when my baby was calm and entertaining herself for about, 10 to 20 minutes at a time. I would pull this one out and work on it. And so, and this one right here, this is what the yarn looks like. It is a nice gradient, and this one is another Dune colorway. It's called Fears the Mind Killer by Knit Circus. This is on their Divine DK, which is superwash merino. But yeah, so I finished the first color gradient. I think it might actually be 2. And then we're into the next one. It's so hard because I knit the smaller, they have like sock size ones, and I got those for matching socks from my husband, and I actually knit a Musselburgh hat using all 4 of those because they did 2 mini cakes per like package essentially of socks, so you can have matching socks. I learned I don't like socks very much, so we're doing hats with all of them. But the stripes on those were a lot smaller because it was less yarn, I guess. But anyways, on to the next light gray color, so that was fun. This one will probably be my primary focus till I get this finished. This is my hat for June. So we're ahead of schedule. I know, right? I think we're a good 4 inches into this. I've learned that sometimes my estimating of like inches and stuff can be way off. Because sometimes you're knitting and it like looks a lot bigger and you're like, well, I've spent all this time on this. I must have like 8 inches by now. And then you measure and it's like, oh, this is actually like 6 inches. I'm 2 inches off, which is fine, but I've learned that. Okay, on to my next project. And so I had 4 knitting goals for May. And I got through 3 of them. One of them was to finish my May top. The second one was to get halfway or more on my hats for the next 2 months, which I did that. And then my third one that I did was my Beatles blanket. So these squares right here, the ones that I added, the like more brown ones. This one is Revolution from Wool and Vinyl Fiber Co. These ones I actually worked on when we were in Disney. We went on a little Disney trip this last month at the beginning, and I think it was 30 out of the 40 within like 3 days there. When my child was napping, I would just sit and crochet. This was the one thing I took because it's very easy for me to just like sit down in the middle of a block. I don't have to have a pattern. Very easy to figure out where I'm at with this. So that's what I did. And then, so that took me about 4 days to finish those squares. And then the bigger ones, I tried to get them done really fast. I focused on this project for about a week, and I got the other blocks, the pink ones, done and everything added in. I think it was 8 days after that. So it only took me about a week and a half this time instead of like 3 weeks when I was just doing it for part of the day. So yes, this one is, I forgot the name, All You Need Is Love, and that one's Sunday Fiber Co. Kind of hard to see. This one, the colors, as I was knitting it, I'm like, oh my goodness, that reminds me of, and this is probably what she was going for, but the All You Need Is Love music video that they filmed and broadcasted, which was pretty cool. It was like one of the first, I think, music video broadcasts, like where they filmed it not like on a TV show set or whatever. So kind of cool. So yeah, those are my colors for this month. I was actually really worried when I pulled these out and caked them up that they weren't gonna look good together, but when I started crocheting them, they looked really, really good. So I was very happy about that. And this is what the whole thing looks like as well, just so you can see. It looks really cool when you have it, when you have a little more out, because you can kind of see that it's like, it kind of has a stripey effect, but not really, which is what I wanted. I didn't want it to look like full stripes, but I also didn't want to have to knit up half, because the other way I could have done it is like random, but then I would have want to crocheted half of the squares and then added with the other half of the colors. So it would have just been like too many cakes of yarn for me to have at a time. And I just didn't want to keep track of all that. So this is what it's looking like. I am liking it so far. But yeah, and then I almost finished my first square of the next one. My daughter was being pretty good, and I was working on my Manhattan hat, the green one, and I didn't want to get like dye on my fingers and then play with her upstairs because my other one was down here. So I went and I grabbed this real quick, and then as soon as I started working, she got fussy. So I got almost a full square done. This is the next color. So it'll be red, and then this color next. Hard to tell because it's like weird because you work up the color that will be on the top first, and then you add it in with the next color, or at least that's how I'm doing it. So yes, but this is Golden Slumbers from Wool and Vinyl, and then this one's Lady Madonna. There we go, from Sunday Fiber Co. So really fun. We're getting some more of these kind of toned down colors. We had some really brights in there, and then I'm looking at my shelf up next. We are going back into some nice bright colors for a while, so that will be a lot of fun. So yes, that was the third goal that I had for the month. The last goal, and that's all of my whips that I worked on this month, by the way. My last goal, which I didn't quite get to because I decided, because originally I'm like, I'm just gonna knit to about, between 6 and 8 inches on each of my Manhattan hats, and then I'll do the rest next month. But I decided halfway through that's not what I wanted. I am kind of in a nice groove right now where I am casting on and finishing projects fairly like within the same time frame. So I kind of want to keep that up, besides obviously my long-term projects. So the other one is my Sophie hood scarf. I want the one with the hood that's also a scarf because I don't like scarves and hats. That's too much for me to keep track of. I like that it's like a hood, but you can also wrap it around so that it's a nice warm scarf. So originally I got this. This is from Hedgehog Fibers. This is one of they do what's called potlucks, where their dyers will like just have fun with color, and they don't have to dye like a set color. They'll dye what feels good for them, and then they put them in these fun packs. So I have 2 of these. I believe this is fingering weight yarn in a really pretty, it's like a dark blue. It does have quite a bit of shine to it as well. It's not super coming through on camera, but just a beautiful, super dark, almost like ocean blue. And then this is I believe it's Alpaca Boucle. Yep, Alpaca Boucle. Really pretty, it's like a lavendery purple, but then it has greens and yellows and then some of that really dark blue in there. So it will be really fun. It's the first time knitting with a mohair or a alpaca type thing. So I'm really excited to try this out. So anyways, this will be getting cast on as soon as my other Manhattan hat is done, and it'll be nice because it is from what I understand of the pattern, most of it is just garter stitch back and forth, and then you have some increases and an I-cord edging that you'll work into one. So this will be my next cast on. You hopefully will see it finished next month, but if not, it'll be a good chunk of the way done. Okay, so that is kind of what's next for this next month. Is my next little bit of my Beatles blanket. Again, my goal with that is to do 2 skeins or to add on 2 colors every month. If I do that, I will have my blanket finished in about a year from now, actually. A little more. It's, I think I counted, it'll be done October or November of next year. So yeah, we're making progress. It's not a ton, and I'm not going super quick on it because I don't want to get super burned out and then have it sit on the shelf for forever again. This month I actually did feel like I wanted to do more on it, but I did back off. I was like, nope, let's not burn out on it. Let's keep just going steady, and I will probably have some time where I want more crochet, and that is totally fine, and I can do that. But I really don't want to just do a ton of work on it and work on it straight for a month or two and then have it sit in the closet for like another year. I want to get this yarn made into a beautiful blanket and off of my shelf, because I have a lot of other beautiful yarn that I love and want to work into awesome projects as well. So anyways, that's goal number 1. Goal number 2 is to finish my seed stitch store that's from Bountiful, Utah, which we're in Utah now. Other one is to finish my other Manhattan hat. I think that now this is the only one. It should work up pretty quickly. During the day, now I have been working on this, and then at night I'll be playing my game Pokopia, which we'll talk a little bit about later. And then Sophie scarf, hood, whatever we're calling that. I forgot exactly the exact name of it. That is my 3rd knitting goal for this month. And then finally, I will be caking up and well, they're already caked up. I don't need to cake them up. I will be casting on my next hats for, it'll be July and August. My goal is to get 1 hat done every single month this year, because I have a ton of like random fingered, I almost said fingerless, fingering weight yarns that I have gotten over the years. And I'm trying to kind of get rid of, that's a big thing this year that I have noticed, is destashing amongst the knitting community. And that is something I was already starting to do last year, but then I really couldn't because I got so sick and I just lost all of my knitting mojo and desire. But this year I really am trying to get down and pare down on a lot of those yarns. So that is what we are doing. So anyways, I have paired together 2 of my random fingering weight skeins, and we are knitting them DK weight. That way we go through twice as much yarn. And we come out with beautiful hats that I can use or give as gifts in the near future. So we're doing a lot of good with that. My next items that I need to decide on, and this won't be for this month, it'll be for July. But this month I need to decide on what I'm going to do next, because I have my Sophie scarf lined up, and that's kind of like the last random project that I wanted to get done before I dive into maybe my cardigans. However, this month I have had this project particularly, I have really wanted to put work into it, and I haven't. But here is, I have 1 finished block. So this is, back when I started knitting, I had just found these crochet and knitting subscriptions. And the crochet one I already did. It's the Seaside Afghan by Annie's Knit Kits or whatever. This one is the Irish Fields Knit Kit, I believe. It'll be an Afghan. This is my first cable I ever did, actually. And then there's just a lot of very easy, like this one. They just teach you a lot of fun you do a lot of different stitch patterns. It teaches you a lot. I learned how to pick up stitches here, all of this. But this was the only block I completed, actually. It's actually very tight right there. It's very a lot more stretchy on this end. So that's kind of funny. But anyways, so I have 11 more of these. No, not 11. Maybe, is it 11? It's 10. I don't know, because the last month you do the border. So I forget if it's 12 squares and then you do the border in month 13 or whatever. But anyways, I have probably 11 more of these to do. And I have all the yarn for it and all the patterns and everything. I was doing them too on my Prim needles. I still have them attached. That's really funny, actually. I will probably end up swapping those to a ChowGoo. But yeah, so all of them are kind of the same motif. You have a beautiful cable down the middle. That one was really fun to do. I remember. Oh, and I have a hole there. Yeah, you can see I was very early knitter. There's a random hole there. I think I probably dropped a stitch, or I did a yarn over or something. Who knows? Again, very, very new to knitting. And then this one was a little puff stitch. And then here it's a fun little if we can get it to see, it's like a little checker thing, and that is kind of where I left off because I started on my Christmas sweaters, and then I put this in the closet and forgot about it. But I have all the yarn. It's literally in my nightstand, and I keep that yarn in my nightstand because it's acrylic yarn, and so I don't have to like keep it stored like a super nice place like I do my wool yarn where I have to like keep moths away from it and all that. But yeah, this is something that I would love to get back to. I think at least I want to finish this block up, and then kind of see where I'm feeling. At least at the time when I knit these, it was like a lot of work, but I mean, it's size 8 needles. So I have a feeling it will go by faster, especially now that I'm a more advanced knitter and I know how to read my knitting actually, and I don't have to sit there and like count all the stitches. So yeah, that is something I am debating picking back up, but I also am like, I have 3 blankets right now on the needles. I have my row 1, which is one I brought down, but I literally put 0 work on it. 0 work. You can see right there, there's my stitch marker that I moved. I did nothing this month because I didn't have time. I didn't get to it. So yeah, that is like another one I need to kind of pick back up and get better at putting in some time into. I have my Beatles blanket, which I am, finally kind of in a good groove of doing 2 skeins a month. Not too much, but not too little. And then I also have my Sweet Shop blanket, which my thing with that one is I wanted to add in all the row 1 minis into this one. I have about 6 packs left, I believe. And so we are getting fairly close. When I started this blanket, I had like 11 to 13 of them. And then I added in almost all, I think it was all but like 5 of them. And then I got sick and it went back up to like 11 to 12 again. And we're back down to like 6 of them. I'm not getting that subscription as of right now anymore. So we're at, a good stopping place. But I kind of want to add those minis in and then the random minis from all of like the sock sets that I had into it, and then kind of put that off as a stopping point, and I'll add in the Polka Dot Creek minis at a later time, and then go to my Sweet Shop blanket. But the thing is I'm like, I have to have time to do that. The other thing that I really, really want to do that I think takes higher priority than this one is I have up in my closet, there's like 22, I think is the number I counted, sweaters quantities. My goal like 3 years ago when I bought all this yarn was to knit a rainbow of cardigans, because that is like my go-to piece that I wear daily is a cardigan or a jacket, but generally I'll grab a cardigan because it is a little dressier, makes me feel a little nicer, and they're super warm, especially when knitted with wool. I am a very cold-blooded person. I get cold super easily, but I want a whole rainbow because I want to be able to choose whatever color matches with whatever outfit I'm wearing that day. So I have blues and greens and purples. I think I have like 3 different purples and black, gray. There's a white one because I wanted a white cardigan as well. It's actually in like a silk boucle. I'm really excited to try knitting with that. And even reds and oranges, yellow, like every single color of the rainbow that you can think of is up there in that closet. And I got even extra cords so I could because I wanted to knit like 5 or 6 of them at the same time within the span of a year probably. And so I really do want to get those started because they're literally all caked up and ready to go. I just have to cast them on. The goal was a year ago when we were moving, I was going to work on that. This blanket right here, my row 1 blanket, and then my Sweet Shop blanket all at the same time throughout the year. And then I got pregnant and super sick before I could even cast them on. I was working super hard to finish my Fisherman's cardigans, which I finally finished in November, I believe, of last year. Or maybe it was October. It was one of those fall months. No, it would have been October or September because I finished them like right before I gave birth, and that was my goal, was to finish them before my baby arrived. And then I did a different Advent blanket because we needed to get rid of that yarn on the shelf that is now in my baby's room. So anyways, that's kind of what happened to those, but I think that I want to start those before this Afghan blanket, but this blanket has like really been kind of calling to me lately. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I might like finish up the square this month if I have a little bit of extra time, just so like I'm at like a decent stopping point, and then that way I can start on block 3 fresh, with nothing else going on. So that might be what I do. But yeah, for now I have 3 knitting goals, well 4 for the month, and that is to finish this, which that should be fairly simple. Get my 2 skeins of my Beatles blanket added, my Sophie hood and scarf, and then to cast on my next 2 hats. And then once the Sophie scarf, hood, whatever we're calling it, is finished, we'll probably cast on a cardigan to work on, or I will work on adding these and getting to kind of a more decent stopping point, I would say. That blanket is so much fun, though. It's fun to like work on for like big chunks at a time, and so I kind of maybe want to wait on that one though. We'll see what I decide. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, a couple things I would love to just talk about, because I have been seeing, as I've been watching a lot of and listening to a lot of knitting podcasts. Knitting podcasts are super easy for me to put on in the background when I'm with my baby. I like to have something on because then I don't feel like a crazy person just going, oh, go, go, gaga to my baby all day long, trying to get her to learn speech and talk, and encouraging her to like be vocal. But having it on doesn't make me feel like a crazy person, because I'm like, okay, I still am like listening to someone talk, even if they're not like in the room with me. But, sorry. Anyways, there's been like some things I've been noticing a lot over the last month while watching these. One of them is everybody is destashing now. It's so funny. And like I kind of follow the same trend. I bought so much yarn. Like I literally upstairs have 3 tubs full of yarn, and that's not counting my sweater quantities, my Wooble kits that I still have, the yarn in my nightstand. I have this shelf that has a bunch of yarn on it that I am getting rid of slowly. Well, not getting rid of, I am working through it. It's all yarn that I love and that I really do want to use up, and I got it with a pattern in mind. I didn't buy yarn just to buy yarn, except for some of the random skeins here and there, but usually it was like, oh, I want to knit this in a pair of socks, or I can knit this in a hat for somebody. But anyways, so all of them were bought with a project in mind, and I actually added them in my Ravelry with those projects, at least like in the project page that I could remember which one. They're all in plastic baggies, labeled as well. So I do have it stored pretty well. However, that being said, I do have so much yarn and so we are working through it. And I kind of noticed this when we moved here. Again, it was like a year and a half ago now. And I was doing pretty good working through it up until I got pregnant and super sick. And then I didn't knit for like 3-4 months, and then even when I picked it up, I knit very limitedly, just because I didn't have a ton of energy and I just felt super nauseous all the time. And then finally when I did, I finished some of those big patterns that in projects I had been meaning to finish for a long time. So anyways, I've been meaning to destash now for like really a year and a half, and I'm finally really getting to where I'm in like a good groove, finally destashing and doing these projects that are eating up a good chunk of my yarn. So that's good. And especially the yarn that's been caked up for a while, because I know you don't want to have yarn caked up for a long time, even though I have had some skeins caked up for a really long time. Yeah, but we're not going to talk about that. Anyways, though, it's been very interesting, though, because the internet was very much in a huge consumer phase where it's like, buy this indie yarn, here's my next, indie yarn haul or whatever. And I like was talking to my husband. I definitely fell victim to that. I get very much my family gets FOMO a lot. My brother and sister get it, and I definitely get it, especially when it comes to like consuming things. And I got in the mindset of, oh, it's yarn and it's like a slow hobby, and I'm not like buying these sweaters that are made of plastic. This is like wool, and so it's natural, and so I'm not like being a huge consumerist, when in reality I was being a big consumerist, even though it is a little bit better, you can say, I guess, than buying like 18 different sweaters from Target. Not that that's like a terrible thing either, as long as you're wearing them till they fall apart. But yeah, then I have all this yarn now. But that's fine because now I can knit with all this yarn for years and not have to worry about buying much at all. However, it's very interesting that the internet did kind of the same trend. I also, around the time that we moved, got off Instagram, and that really helped me stop buying yarn because I wasn't seeing all the new pretty colors and yarn that was coming out. I suddenly was like, oh, I am not following all of my favorite indie dyers that post constantly about their products, which is fine. That's like what they need to do to stay, to keep their business afloat. But that really helped me like cut back, and I was really only getting a couple subscriptions of yarn instead of buying like, hundreds of dollars of yarn a month. So that really helped me cut down. And getting rid of a bunch of those subscriptions helped. Again, I cut back down to like 2, and then when my kid was born, we stopped both of them, and I haven't picked either of them back up yet. I would maybe like to do row 1 again just because it's really fun and I can make this blanket as big as I want. But we'll see. We'll see when we get there, what I'm feeling and if I want to wrap this blanket up or keep going on it. But then anyways, we get to like this point where I'm off Instagram and then I'm starting to destash. But a year later from when I really did want to start destashing, again, I couldn't because I got so sick and just didn't have the energy to. And now I'm finally in a spot where I'm like, I can work through all this yarn that I meant to work through a year ago. It's very interesting to see all the kind of new videos from the new year coming out, and in the springtime everybody is in like huge destash mode instead of, hey, look at these are like the 20 advents I got as, a knitting influencer. A lot of it is, here are like 10 projects you can use to stash bust, and here are, stash busting, blankets and like, or smaller projects, because a lot of people like smaller projects that stash bust. And a lot of them is like, here's me going through all of my skeins of yarn and my whole yarn collection and counting them all, and really going through what projects I would like to make with them and which ones I am kind of like, maybe I did get this on a whim, and didn't really think about it. But anyways, so there's like a ton of those videos coming out now. It's very interesting that now the internet, because the economy is in the pooper, they're not buying them, but they still have to make content. And so this is what people are doing is, oh, maybe my subscribers can't buy all this yarn that I'm, helping to promote and get commissions off of or whatever, but I can still make videos on destashing, and because they relate to that topic more right now, more people watch and more people get clicks. It's just very interesting to see internet trends and how they relate to like the economy and stuff. But anyways, on to the next thing I wanted to talk about. Another one of the knitting podcasts I've been listening to is Two Women Yelling About Knitting, I think is the full title. It's something like that. Awesome. They talk about like social and historical like issues and things within knitting. Like a big one they just did was AI, which I found very interesting because one of the hosts had the kind of the perspective I have, which is AI is evil and we hate it, especially generative AI. And in the crafting space, I don't see any place for it because it's taking away art and jobs and, that human touch. And in a space where, a machine could have technically probably made this without a huge ladder in it, but it's a human touch on this hat. And I actually I think that it's cool. Obviously, I wish that there wasn't a ladder, but it is what it is, and I made it with my own hands, and it brought me joy. A machine, though, I think has no place in the crafting community, especially when it's stealing artists' work and stuff, and taking some of those jobs away. But the other host did have a very unique perspective on it. She didn't necessarily think that machines are going to take over the world, but she had the perspective of, oh, it's a new technology and I want to be on top of it because clearly these companies are forcing it down our throats whether we like it or not. AI is now in everything that we do. And including like the music industry. And it's so sad because what's more like human and like, soulful and like speaks to humanity than like music itself. And now AI is all over the music industry. And it's so sad because it's taking all these artists' music that they worked so hard on, and it just like regurgitates parts of it for some, kid who wants to be a musician but doesn't want to put in the time and effort and energy to like learning and going through the learning process. And then it just regurgitates it for them in some other form. And it's really sad and depressing that that's like what's happening. Anyway, she had a very unique perspective on this is how I would use it. And I asked, ChatGPT or whatever, I think that's the one they were using. Like, this is my knitting style. This is what I would like to get better at. This is what I find problematic about certain patterns. And like, it was able to go like you're able to like put a pattern into it, which I personally would never do because then it can use that info. She said too, you could set it to like where it won't use that information going forward or like for other things other than the conversation you're having with it. But supposedly you can put a pattern in there and it will like take out all the extra numbers, because there's usually like 4 different numbers or 5 or 6 listed for the different sizes based on how many stitches, and then increases and rounds and all that you need to knit to get the specific size you are working on. But it can take all the ones out besides the one you're working on, which I'm like, okay, yeah, that's nice, but I'm like, that's not something I want to kill a forest over. Or, the Great Salt Lake, now we're getting one of the largest, apparently, like, database centers like in the country here, and the Great Salt Lake is already like getting, it's getting dried up because of global climate change and global warming, and that's just gonna make it worse because it's gonna suck all the water out of the Great Salt Lake to keep all the computers cool. But anyways, I don't want to do that when me and my human brain, part of like setting up a pattern is going through and figuring out, okay, this is my size, and like here's where, and if I want to I can go through and highlight, or I can just remember, oh, it's like the second one from the left or the third one in. It's not that difficult to remember that. Another one that was very interesting was she was talking about like gauge swatching. I personally do not gauge swatch. I haven't needed to. I haven't necessarily knit a sweater like in the round, except for really this one, but this one I was fine ripping back. And even then it was knit top down so I could try it on as I went. But I don't gauge swatch, I think, which I know is like, ooh, why don't you do that? I think that it is a waste of time personally. I get like if people want something fitting very, very well, and like it's a very form-fitting thing, or if you have like very loose or very tight tension. I personally think though my own knit, like I'm fine with knitting things slightly different than the pattern, and maybe needing to add, a few extra rows on the button band to make it, a little bit wider, or going up a size. Or what usually generally too with like a cardigan, I go up a size anyways, and so it ends up working just fine. But most of the things I knit, I haven't necessarily needed to gauge swatch for. Yeah, but it was talking about how you could gauge swatch, especially if you're using a different yarn, or like you wanted to work with a completely different like weight of yarn, how it could take that gauge you got and then like essentially rewrite the pattern with it. But I didn't like that either, because I'm like, you buy like a fingering weight sweater pattern because you have fingering weight yarn. Or, there is and there's so many patterns out there now. If you did find a specific, like, say you found like a DK weight pattern that you really love, but you wanted to do a worsted weight, number one, you can just hold DK weight double, but then two, like, you could probably find a very similar pattern in a worsted weight sweater, because there's so many nowadays, especially on Ravelry. There's so many. And there's a lot of workarounds. Like I said, you could like just hold the yarn double or whatever. I guess if it's like a sport weight or an Aran weight, which is kind of like an in-between yarn, that might be a little trickier, but still it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me where you would need to use AI for that. You can just do the math yourself, or just hold the yarn double. But it was interesting to hear a different side. But that's not why I brought this up. The whole reason I brought this up is because they were talking about, and this is something that like is very present nowadays, but kids are, because everything is like filmed and everybody has a phone now and everything can go online, kids are like afraid of being cringe. And a part of being cringe is learning, because when you learn a new skill, you're going to be bad at it. And sometimes that can be seen as being cringe to these kids. And it's really sad because like learning is a part of the human experience. You have to learn and be bad at stuff and go through adversity, and then like you get that, like when you succeed, you're like, oh my goodness, I get this and it's awesome. Like my first couple cables I showed earlier, they definitely were not the prettiest and the best, and there was some mistakes in those for sure. And that might be seen as cringe, but to me, I'm like, yeah, I could rip back and fix it, or I can keep it, and this is like a memento of, look, this is where I started, and it's fine, it's on a blanket, nobody's probably going to nitpick over a blanket that they're using at my house, except for really myself maybe, but the people that I live with aren't necessarily like that. But in that same episode, they also were talking about now everybody does things for money, like all of our hobbies, like even this little like knitting podcast I'm doing. I started it originally because I'm like, I could be a knitting influencer. Now I don't care about that. This is more just for my own personal, to look back on and to see, and if anybody else watches it, fine by me, and I love that. Welcome along for the crazy ride. But everything now is like monetized, and everything, because we live in such a capitalist society where we're like, you have to be productive to be like successful and to be seen as successful. And if you're lazy, you're terrible. And why would you do that? And why would you take a sick day or a mental health day for yourself? I did that this week, by the way. I was so tired. I'm like, I can't do my job correctly anyways. We need a mental health day. So that's what we did. But everything in today's society is you have to be productive. And so this goes back to why I maybe didn't get this hat done, or as far on this hat as I wanted to, or some time on my lovely row 1 blanket. That's because my husband for Mother's Day was he was super amazing, and he got me a super thoughtful gift. I, for the longest time, have been wanting to play Pokopia, or Pokopia, however you say it. It's a new Pokemon game that came out on the Switch 2, and for Mother's Day, he was so thoughtful and got me the Switch 2 and Pokopia, and so I've been playing it, and it's been so fun. And I have had a lot of moments where I'm like, oh, I should be knitting, because like I am playing this game and it's going to amount to literally nothing. Like, it doesn't make me a better person. It doesn't make me, at least knitting is like, it makes me a finished project a project or object that I can use and wear. Even though most of the time I am watching like, pointless YouTube videos while I'm knitting and crocheting, but at least it's like I'm doing something productive. But I really was like, especially the last couple of weeks, where I'm like, oh, like it's almost the end of the month, I need to like be wrapping up on my hats and whatever, and get my blanket finished. But I was really catching myself and being like, no, I am enjoying this. Like, this is fun, and it's good for my mental health, and it's good to like be lazy on occasion. Like, obviously not all the time can you be lazy. We don't live in a society where that can happen, and even if we did, nobody would be fulfilled and find like purpose and joy. But it's okay to like take an hour or 2 out of your day and just do something that brings you joy, even if it's like a video game or watching a TV show without another device on, like a phone, or or doing something like knitting while you're watching. Like, it's okay to just do something for the sake of enjoyment. Obviously, knitting and crochet brings me great enjoyment, but I really was having a great time playing Pokopia, and I'm almost done. I'm to the end where it's like kind of more of the mundane stuff where you have to move everybody to certain houses that they will like to get your environment level up so that you can get all the big Pokemon, all the really rare ones. So my playing time has gone down the last few days, especially, but it's still super fun and I still really enjoy it. But I have really been having to like catch myself and be like, no, it's okay. You don't have to be productive right now. Right now, you're taking time for yourself. So yeah, that's, I guess, kind of the message I want to leave with, is you don't have to be productive 100% of the time. Being a mom is a lot. You have to be productive a lot. You have to be very engaging with your kid. And even though it doesn't seem like you're being productive, playing with your kid is being productive, because you're teaching them and you're playing with them and you're entertaining them and teaching them manners and how to move about the world and all that. You're producing essentially a well-behaved human being, or hopefully a well-behaved, well-developed human being. But it is a lot of work, and so like being able to take a step back from that and my job, even though I love my job and my knitting and crochet, and just take a moment to not be productive has been so nice. So I leave that with you guys to end this. Take a moment for yourself this next month. Do something not productive, whether that's, taking a nap if you need that, or, maybe cooking yourself something nice because you just want to, or going and, buying a nice treat, or playing a video game, or, whatever it is that is, you're just doing something for yourself for the sake of enjoyment. Go and do that this month. And next month we will be back with more knitting and crochet, because that is what this is about at the end of the day, is my knitting and crochet journey and what I am doing. But yeah, I am very excited to cast on my Sophie hood and scarf. I've been wanting to do this for a while, so I'm very excited about that. But anyways, have a good rest of your month, and we will see you at the end of June. I can't believe it's already summer. I said this last year all the time. I can't believe it's this. I can't believe it's that. I really can't believe it's already June. Like, holy cow, it's like a bajillion degrees outside now. But anyway, stay safe out there. Stay cool, but not too cool. Don't crank the AC up. We're already killing our environment with all these data centers and AI. But until then, we will see you next time. Bye-bye!